Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first Builders Call of 2026. I am so excited for our call today. Great to see so many familiar faces and also some new faces that are joining us. And for those of you that might be joining for the first time, this call happens the first and third Tuesdays of every month. You can put it on your calendar as a repeating event. And who this call is for anyone that is looking to grow and build people, which grow and build organizations within the context of EXP. So we're always talking about a combination of skill set and mindset, as is everything. And these conversations largely will come to life because of what you're looking to create during our time together. And then throughout this year, we're also going to be interviewing some incredible people that are newer in the organization, that are doing things that are working at a high level and building and creating success. We're going to be interviewing people that have more established and mature organizations. We're going to be interviewing people that built organizations that had massive attrition. Would that ever happen? Yes, it would. And that have built back and really have some incredible learnings throughout the course of this year. So I'm excited for the evolution of this call, what it will be and what it will mean. And most importantly, as I look around and see the faces that are on this call, I am seeing people that are taking personal responsibility and ownership of what they want to create based on their own individual visions. Kim Renshaw, just like you jump off of the screen and being a great example of that. Joseph Trujillo, you as well, in execution and vision. And so as we jump into today's call, it's going to be all things about getting really clear on 2026, a roadmap for you to follow. And then my intention for each one of you when you get off the call today is that you're leaving here with a clear plan of what you're committed to executing and where you're committed to plug in to receive the support and nourishing and the mastermind that is available for you to continue in that growth path. And so before we jump in for talking about 2026, what I want to say is that a lot of times, and for those of you that may be hearing this call for the first time or on this call for the first time, I am getting ready to celebrate, what is it, 2026? Oh my gosh. It's going to be 22 years ago I got my real estate license. I was just doing some quick math in reverse. You know, they say realtors can only calculate 3%. That's not true. So, yeah, 22 years ago, thinking about starting my journey as a real estate person and what that meant then versus what it means now. And it's totally different, except for there's one thing that is the same. And that is this, and I'm telling you this story for the purpose of your own individual vision. The day after I took my real estate exam, before I was hanging my license anywhere, and I'm telling you this story, so I want you to think about people that may be newly licensed or getting licensed or that you've met that weren't even thinking about real estate until they met you. So I was a newly licensed real estate, just taken my exam and passed it. And the day after that, I was invited to a class called Quantum Leap. How many of you know that class? Selena knows it. It's like a foundational class at a little company called Keller Williams. And the instructor for that class is Dick Dillingham, or was Dick Dillingham at that time. And I had no idea what I was going to. I was invited to that class by my ex-husband's ex-wife. Say that again. I was invited to that class by my ex-husband's ex-wife. Her name is Desiree Valet. Billich. Now I think she's back to Valet. Anyway, I was Casey Valet. She was Desiree Valet. And she was the person that invited me to get my real estate license so that we could work more closely together. And she thought I'd be great at it. And so, of course, I said yes to going to this class with her. And as I was sitting in the class called Quantum Leap, they had us do this exercise. And I'm going to invite you to take the time to do this exercise if right now you do not have a crystal clear vision. And if you do have a crystal clear vision, I'm going to invite you to do this exercise in the context of expanding that vision if that's what feels energizing to you. And so we went through this exercise, and Dick Dillingham, who was the instructor, he said, I want you to look at your life today and the amount of income that you need to generate as a real estate professional to live today. And so, you know, everybody got whatever their number was for that. And then he said, okay, now I want you to double that number. So, you know, my number was 20,000. He said, now I want you to double that number to account for inflation, lifestyle upgrades, unexpected things that happen as a number that you could live on every month for the rest of your life. So I doubled my number to 40,000 a month, right? And then we went through it was close to a 30-minute exercise. And he said, now I want you to imagine, and you can, this is 22 years ago because of how the money showed up. It was a check in the mail box that had to be retrieved. He said, now I want you to imagine you go out to your mailbox and you collect that check and you deposit it, and you only have until the end of that day to allocate where those funds are going to work. So what would you do with that first 40 grand? That was my number, right? And so I did all the things I do with the first 40. He said, okay, now the next day, oh, and the caveat with it is if you don't lose it, if you don't deploy those funds to go work somewhere, they're gone at the end of the day. So the next day, check shows up in the mailbox, another 40. What are you doing with that 40? The next day, check shows up, it's another 40. What are you doing with the 40 that day? And we went on for a half an hour with checks in the mail showing up every day that had to be funds activated. So I went through all the experiences I want to have, the properties I wanted to buy, the properties I want to buy for my sister, for my parents, the places that I wanted to contribute, like all of the things, until literally there was no other things I could think of to do with the checks that were coming in the mail, which is the point of the exercise and why I encourage you to take the time to do it. And at the end of all of that was the question that was the most powerful question, and it was, now what are you doing with your time? And for me, that answer was, shoot, if I have done that, well, what I'm going to do with my time is I'm going to be on stages all over the world teaching and training and coaching people how to do their version of that same thing. This is 22 years ago. But it was the first time that in my body and my mind, I ever had an experience of feeling what it would be like to not have, like, not even any one more thing I could do with another dollar because I had done it all. So the financial piece was handled, like handled, done. And now where's my time and energy going? And if you're willing to go through that exercise, I believe it will get you clearer and clearer on what your individual purpose is, regardless of what you do to generate income, or all of the ways that you're generating it, or all the ways that you have it and you have it working for you. This is really about who you are as a purpose, who you are as a person, and living into the highest version of you, which ideally is going to continue to refine over and over again over time. So, before we jump into the actual content of today, for those of you that have taken meaningful conversations training from me, that entire story was a positioning in the top half of that pie circle, a positioning for the conversation today to get you all thinking individually and have this be a really personal conversation. So before we move on to the actual call part of the call, I'd love to take any thoughts, things that may have come up for you, feelings or emotions that may have come up for you, ahas, just in what we've gone through so far.
Can I go?
Go, Anthony, go. No one else has raced you to the unmute button. It's all you.
Hey, everybody, Anthony in New York. What you just said just really hit me like a freaking freight train. I was just talking about this with my wife the other day I won't hog the time, I'll make it quick. Prior to real estate, I was in a business that didn't turn out so well, unfortunately. And I basically lost everything. And I had to start all over from zero. Had to run up the credit cards, whatever it was to get business and, start getting leads in the door over the last 5 years. All I do, and this is my mission for this year. All I do is think about making that income. And I'm sick and tired of having to constantly just think about that. So when you said to visualize what it would be like, what would you be doing if you have all of that settled? It's just like I haven't even had time to come up for air to think about that. So thank you for doing this call because unfortunately, it's all I obsess about, and I'm sick and tired of thinking about it 24 hours a effing day. So
Well,
I just wanted to add that.
thank you. I want to open up this call and acknowledge you for being willing to be vulnerable and share that, number one. And number two, here's a great tip. Uh, the body emotionally, so the language of the mind is images. When I say the word banana, what comes to mind? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? What do you see?
A
Yellow.
banana.
But you don't see the letters Banana, right? You see the image. So the way that you create anything in life is going to be the image of what that is. So if we go back to the story that I just told, that was the image of me on stages in front of groups of people, sharing, teaching, coaching, training. Like, hey, if I can do it, anybody can do it, literally, really. And the emotion attached to that. Anthony, what you've been replaying emotion on is a dollar amount of money that you need to handle things on the financial side. And so I want you to notice the feeling that that creates in the body, which is counterproductive to the freedom that you're actually working to create for yourself. And so, what there is to do, like right now, is number one, be aware of that. And number two, on the other side of this call and this conversation, every time that thought that, because thoughts create feelings, right? Those thoughts that we have in our minds create the feelings in our body, is to catch yourself when you do that and pivot to the actual end result of what does it look like, feel like to be on the other side, because that is going to pull you towards something different in multiple ways. Number one, it's going to change the experience that you have day to day as you go out and do the activities that there are to do to create what you want to create. Number two, energetically, it's going to attract an entirely different type of person and situation to you. And so the people that are you're surrounded with, that you're doing business and that now you're growing with, are going to continue to up level as you do that, because you're being pulled by a vision versus pushed by pain. And there's a very big difference between being pulled and led by an internal vision and pushed by pain. Now, I believe a precipice is the greatest place that someone can ever be, because it means that people will do things they haven't been willing to do, like work harder, get more clear, get more committed, get more focused, do things they haven't been willing to do before, and in ways they haven't been willing to do them. Like, we're in a conversation around growing humans for the, in the context of attraction and recruiting. And as you grow humans, businesses grow, right? But who are you going to attract in each area, right? Depending on if you're living in the experience of where you're at right now versus the experience of where you're working to create, and reverse engineer that. And so that can be like, and it's true, as you're saying, Rick always used to say this: when I'm saying things out loud, I'm saying them to myself as much as I'm saying them to anyone on this call, right? Because at every next level of where we're going to create, each of us, is that same foundational principle that is really important, is that we live in the vision that it's already happened and work as that person. It's the concept of be, do, have. Who do I need to be? I'm going to be the person that's already created that. Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to go do the work that actually creates that outcome so that I can have that end result that I can see, that I can touch, that I can feel. But we've got to be connected to the end result to be able to see, touch, and feel it. So thank you for opening up this conversation in such a meaningful way. All right, who else? What else came up for you or has come up for you so far in the conversation? Oh, come on, Kim. I can feel you looking for your mute button. There you go.
No, I was just wanting somebody else to talk instead of me all the time. No, so what an awesome exercise. And I've never even heard of that. So I'm going to go back and watch this recording for myself. And then I'm going to grab a couple other people, probably a whole bunch of other people, and have them do the same thing. Because, like, just this morning, I was like, okay, I just listed a big ass ranch and I'm double ending it by the grace of God. And that is going to be the down payment on an office that I want to buy for my agents. and just I kind of stuffed that little dream away. I had it in my vision book when we were at PSI, and I'm like, how can I make this happen? I don't have an extra 100 grand, right? And then I'm like, oh, okay. It just starts presenting itself. So just don't you gave me permission to keep dreaming, like by this exercise. And like the stuff that we have coming up in Monterey, I'm so excited I can hardly stand myself. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I already told you that, right? And they're like, yeah, like 500 times. That's how excited I am. And we've got people coming from all over. And it's just, you've given us this gift, Casey. You actually are a gift to be able to bring people together that have like minds that want to freaking run alongside you. And we're running at a pretty fast clip. So I want to do this exercise when we're in Monterey at that VRBO too, because this is cool, super cool.
Thank you for sharing. And kudos to you for continuing to up level, right? And that is what that I mean, that's why we're all here, right? It's the what's next, what's the next version of us, who's going to be in that conversation and that proximity that hasn't been currently in that conversation or proximity. How are we all going to be better as a result of those people, right? And so I think it's also a great reminder that every single person that's on this call, you have something to contribute and you have something to receive by being in collaboration and being in community. And the more that you commit to the consistency of that piece, the faster and further you're going to grow, and so are the people around you, right? And I always say the things that are easy to do are the things easy not to do, right? It's easy to put this call in the calendar for, a couple of times a month, and it's easy to go, oh, I have a buyer that just has to see me right this minute. Or something else that is more urgent, more important, and then we let go of the foundational piece of what keeps nourishing us to grow and collaborate together. All right, I'll take one more. One more. What anything aha you've had, or just anything in the conversation up to this point? Okay, so here's what I'm going to say is that during the holiday season, I was doing some of my own personal development and reading and research. And the most powerful way to change anything is not to think it, not to write it, but to say it. Because what happens when you use your voice to communicate what is going on in your mind, heart, body, your combination of both, that is where we create from, and it's also how we release, right? So for any of you that may be walking around with things from 2025 still, or 2024, or 2023, or 1999, in your bodies that is not necessarily serving you, could potentially be holding you back, or is just kind of like, that thorn in the side. My invitation to you is find some place to speak that and release it so that you can move on and really create. Now, as we look at, everybody gets excited about New Year. Well, some people do, some people don't, right? A lot of people don't get excited about New Year because it's like, it's like, is it really going to be a new year? Is it going to be better, different? Is it going to be some version or repeat of 2025? Well, that's going to be up to you. That's what I'll say about that. And number two is that most of us have been trained to look at the previous year, 2025, and go, okay, now let's go make goals and a vision based on what I did in 2025 to decide what I'm going to do in 2026. And I'm going to say that is the most ineffective way to do it. I'm going to be real bold and say that again. Most of us have been trained to do a recap and look at 2025, and based on what happened in 2025, set our goals and vision for 2026. And I'm going to say that is the most ineffective way to do it. Why would I say that? Why do you think I would say that?
Why limit yourself like that? Why not look at what gets you excited and what you want to do now and do it from there?
I love that. Yes. So most Brad, go ahead.
Well, I think that if we utilize the same beliefs and the same thought process that we always did, that it's not providing opportunity to really grow as a person or have bigger vision when we're subjecting everything to what we've done in the past, because we have the potential and possibility of becoming a new person or thinking differently or thinking bigger. And that that just creates a new person altogether.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And then we've got someone else that said it limits possibilities. Past performance does not dictate future ones. So here's what I want you to think about, and this is true in every area and every aspect. The most powerful things get created from nothing. So the most powerful place to create from is nothing. And if you want to take the time to do this, grab a blank piece of paper and like literally there's a whole exercise that I teach coach that I'm not going to do today, but it is designing and creating a year from a totally from nothing. So imagine you're not married to the person you're married to. Now, just for the sake of this exercise, you don't have the kids that you have, just for the sake of this exercise. You don't live in the house that you live in, just for the sake of this exercise. You didn't do the business or production you did last year, just for the sake of this exercise. You have none of the relationships that you have in your life right now, just for the sake of this exercise. You literally have a blank piece of paper called your life. And if you're willing to look at 2026 like a blank piece of paper called your life and now be honest and go, okay, sometimes we look and take inventory in our lives and there's a bunch of stuff that end up in there, experiences, relationships because we feel obligation to relationships versus ones that really bring us joy or infuse life into our soul. There's all kinds of things based on other people's values, society's values, a community's values, your family values that maybe aren't yours, that somehow have just worked their way into what we're going to call your life. And so when you're willing to go like blank sheet of paper and get really clear and honest, and I'm not saying it's everyone on this call, but I know some people and at some time, right? Maybe not this time, but some people at some time are living inside of values that are not yours. They're ones you think you should have. Well, if these are the people I'm surrounded by and this is what they're doing, here's what I should be doing. Or whatever it is that you were raised with to believe in, to not believe in. There's all kinds of things like anywhere that you feel guilt, anywhere that you feel shame. Are you actually living in your own values, or are you living inside of values that are not really actually yours? Or is that a place for you to go, hey, you know what? I'm out of alignment and it's time for me to get more in alignment with what I know is true for me. And until you're willing to look at your life and your business from a completely blank, and that only the things that are really aligned with your values, with your faith, with what you believe, with what you want, with what you see for yourself and for your future are the things that make it on this page for 2026. You are going to create a version of 2025 all over again. And so this time of the year, I think, is a beautiful gift this time of the year because it is an opportunity to look at a new year with a completely blank page and go, what deserves to be on this based on what I know is true for me at this point in my life, which is always changing, right? I am not the same person I was in 2025. So I'm not in the same conversation that I was in 2025. And if I am going to be in the same conversation, well, let's just call 2026 a repeat of last year. And that is not very exciting to me. Although there were some great things about 2025, but I don't need to do it again. I already did it last year, right? So my invitation to you is twofold. Take the time to do the exercises of the getting clear on not just what your income is today, double it as the number that you could live on for the rest of your life. Spend it every day, invest it every day, get completely rid of it until you've gone through a list so long and so comprehensive that you can't think of one more thing to do with that check that comes in the mail. And then settle into where's your time and energy going that lights you up and that you really feel fulfilled based on your purpose. Everyone here has a different purpose that's unique to you that only you can live into. And the question is, to what extent and to what expression are you living into that purpose? So that's exercise number one. Exercise number two is go get a blank piece of paper. And if you haven't already, design 2026, create it from what's possible, not what's realistic. I'm going to say that again. Create your 2026 on paper from what's possible, not what's realistic. We are trained to set goals based on what's realistic or a stretch from what we've already created, or just set them so big and outrageous that we have no emotional connection to them, and then we don't do anything to move towards that anyways because it's too big and it's too far out. There's a balance that hangs in the middle of what is bigger than what I might be able to see, wrap my brain around right now, but that I can feel in my body is possible. And then how am I going to create from that space and do it in all areas of your life? All areas of your life, your health, your energy, your physical, like health is wealth. I'm in conversation with somebody right now that is that's a prospect, and he's, very successful agent, and he has been sick, like in bed sick for the last 10 days with some horrible flu that's going around, and is so frustrated about it because he's only 39 and he's never been sick like this before. And so this is like a defining moment of what happens if I don't have my health. Well, most people don't think about it until they have something happen like that, right? So if that's you and something's already happened, you know that. If that's you and something hasn't happened yet, well, maybe be proactive in that conversation about what's possible for you. And then what happens is if you're going to go create something big in business and big in your life, it is going to require a lot of energy. It is going to require intention. It's going to require focus. It's going to require consistency. It's going to require like you bringing it each day into what you do, who you touch, and what you touch. That requires physical stamina. So number one, check in on how are you taking care of you every day so that the person that goes into your day is one that people are attracted to. They want to be in life and business with and around. Okay, it's the bottom of the hour, and we're going to make a hard pivot into a roadmap for this year. You guys ready to pivot? Yeah. Before we make the pivot, is there anyone that was dying to come off mute and just somehow there was a disconnect between their thumb and the mute button? I'm going to give you one more opportunity to share if anyone has anything they'd like to share. Okay. So we're going to keep moving. We're reading a book, and I'm going to share that we're doing with this with our sales team as an idea of something you might want to integrate. How many of you have been in book clubs before? Or like we're all reading the same book? Okay. We're doing something different. We are limiting for our sales team, which is obviously this is a builder's call, so it's not a sales team conversation. However, skill sets are transferable. We are doing one of the things that collectively everyone agreed on is that mindset is such an important piece of what we do and continuing to do it at a higher level. And so what we are doing is one chapter a week as a sales team. And the purpose of that chapter is we have our sales team meeting on Tuesdays. Ideally, that chapter gets read or listened to that day. And then it's 6 days of integration on that chapter. Not reading to become a smart rat, not reading to understand concepts and ideas and talk about them, reading to integrate. And then on the following week's sales meeting, the shares are how did I integrate what I learned in that chapter into my business and my life? And then Tuesday, today's our sales meeting. We'll read the next chapter and have that for the course of the next week. And so the reason why I'm starting off with that is this conversation is about integration, not just about ideas. So my intention for each of you when you walk off the other side of this call today, this conversation is to integrate, not just walk away with some great ideas, but an integration plan that you're actually going to follow. The book that we have chosen to start off with this year is Willpower Doesn't Work. How many of you have read that or know of it by Dr. Benjamin Hardy? Okay, Deanna does. I would say it is one of the most influential. So Benjamin Hardy is one of my favorite authors. But what this book talks about is that environment dictates success, period. And so how do you create environments in your physical environment, in your emotional environment, in your relational environment that are going to align and create, like it's the number one predictor and creator of people succeeding or not succeeding in what they create or what they don't create, right? And so Willpower Doesn't Work could be a great thing for you to start off with, that as you're setting your vision for the year and what you're going to execute, that you have an environment that supports it. Because if you don't have an environment that supports it, the likelihood of you integrating the plan that you're going to leave with today is highly unlikely. And so I want to set you up for a win. And that could be a great foundational piece to do some work on you to set yourself up for a win, not just in the business side of your life, but on the personal side of your life as well. Okay, so when we talk about building and getting really clear on what you want to build and create this year in the context of an organization, number one, I look at goals not as a pass fail, which a lot of people do. Well, I hit the goal, I didn't hit the goal. I look at goals as targets. And when you think about an actual target, there is the middle of the target, which is I nailed it 100%. And then there's all the rings around that that are still a win. So I'm going to invite you right out of the gate as you look at the goal for the organization that you want to build this year is that yeah, you have a target. Like we're at 3,109 agents in Empire Builders Pro right now. My target, center of the target is that by December 31st, 2026, we're at 5,000 agents. That is the center of the target. Now, if we end up at 4,500 or 4,000, think of those as rings on that target that are still on the target. They're not the center of the target. So the reason why having a target, see, that's a stretch goal for me. So I'm going to invite you each to have your own stretch goal for the size of the organization that you want to have, but have it be very clear and specific. And then you don't focus on the outer rings of 4,000 or 30. How are we getting to 3,500 or how are we getting to 4,000? No, 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 no. All of the attention and energy, Anthony, is in the center of the target. What is gonna feel like to be at 5,000? What's different in life? What's the experience that's different? What's the experience that's happening for our people? Like all of the feelings associated to what hitting that target of 5,000 at the end of the year is. And so, number one, for each of you, get really clear on what that target number is for you, and most importantly, why. Why? What's going to be different in your life when that happens? Now, for those of you, I'm just going to say a simple reverse engineer. When people go, oh, well, I don't really know. And when we talk about building an organization of people that are growing, obviously, the more productive the agents are, the more revenue share there is that flows into that compensation structure. And if they're on a full cap versus a half cap versus a mega team, that's going to impact how revenue share flows through that structure as well. So if we just take all of those details off the table and go, I like to look at it in a really simple way. Let's say, and based on what we've tracked, and every organization is going to be different, but assuming you're getting paid on the entire organization of agents that are there, I would say figure somewhere between $300 and $350 per agent in your organization. Now, that is a very under promise, over deliver based on if you've personally sponsored them and they cap. That's obviously $4,000 for every agent that you personally sponsor that caps their first year, because that's the compensation structure, right? So that number is easily like an under promise, over deliver. But if you want to just look at, hey, we're going to go from 3,109 to 5,000 agents, what I'm looking at and what that creates in revenue share for us, I use a $350 per agent number. In markets like 2021, 2022, it was $650 based on productivity. And that we had a lot fewer mega teams in the organization at that time than we do now, right? Mega teams cut the revenue share in a quarter. It's a quarter of what it would otherwise be, right? So there's all these different moving pieces and parts. So what I would say for you is when you're looking at the size of the organization you want to create, based on the revenue share that organization will yield you, use $350 per agent per year. So let's do some quick math. If I wanted to do $10,000 a month and have 120,000 for the year, I'm going to divide that by 350 per agent, and that's an organization of 342 agents. Was that too fast? No, you guys are good at math. Okay, 10,000 in revenue share a month is 120,000 for the year. I'm going to take that 120, so my annual revenue share number, I'm going to divide by $350 per agent, and that will give me 342 agent organization to go grow and build. Now, for some of you, your mind just went because you only have 1 or 2 agents in your organization, right? Or 10 or 20, and that might seem like a long way off. Again, that's an under promise, over deliver. It's the center of the target. So step one in this process of getting yourself set up for the year is get the center of the target. What is the center of the target for you? Okay. And then like Brad so beautifully stated, way better than I could have stated it, is now who's the person that there is for you to become, be the end of the movie, right? And now what is there for you to do between now and the end of the year to create that, to actually have that outcome? And this is the part that is where the things are easy not to do are also the things that are easy to do. I'm going to reframe how I say that, right? So, any questions before we move on? And does everyone have their center of the target? Yeah? Okay. All right. So, next we're going to talk about the flow. Selena, will you share the screen and bring up the retreats for the year? So many of you know last year I started doing retreats in Monterey at my home that were to teach people that wanted to grow and build organizations how to do that in a 2-day intensive format where literally you put all the pieces together, you leave clear, and what happened on the other side of people that attended that this year was incredible as far as how their organizations grew and how they grew in the ways that they didn't see or expect. So my invitation to you is if you, based on your level of commitment of you really creating what you say that you want to say, get in one of these retreats as soon as possible. There is a $199 charge for them, and the reason for that is to offset the costs of food, printing workbooks, and other miscellaneous things that we have to run these. This is not about Casey making money in training and coaching. My culturally for our organization is that I am investing in people because you're in my organization, and so I have never taken money to do that in what I do for everyone, right? So the cost for that again is to offset my expenses, which I came out of pocket a lot last year because we weren't running it well. We're going to run it better this year. So that is that. And those, so that would be foundationally number one, pick one of those and you can fly into Monterey. If you're on United or American, you can fly, the airport is 10 minutes from here. And otherwise you're looking at San Jose or San Francisco, which is more like an hour and a half. So those are the dates for those. And there is the PDF, thank you, that details what those are for. Get yourself in one of those and bring people with you. If Kim is a great example, Kim's already been twice last year. I did 9 retreats last year. I'm only doing 4 this year because we're going to do them with more people. And the idea with this year is that you are a leader of leaders. I'm going to say that again. You are a leader of leaders. Kim, I think, is a great person I can highlight as an example of that. If you heard her at the beginning of this call, you heard that she's got an Airbnb and like 13 people coming with her as a leader herself of leaders of her organization that are also leaders of themselves. So success leaves clues. And that would be, a foundational piece in you investing in you and the people that want to run alongside you and really grow with you together. So number one, there's that. Number two is let's look at now. That's actually number two. Number one was having the center of your target. Number two is the infrastructure to get you skilled up and aligned with people that you're running with and be able to get you some momentum sooner than later in the year. That's number two. Number three is what is the daily structure for you to be working within so that every day you're moving the needle forward. And what winning looks like is going to be different for each person based on quantity of activities, but the activities don't change on what there is to do each day. So, Selena, would you bring us to the Builders Boot Camp, please? Because for some reason, my brain talking and looking for things is a collision of nothing happening. Thank you for the support. So for those of you that haven't been through it or have been through it and need a refresher, the Builders Boot Camp is the business plan and the system for you to grow and build an organization. And there it is in the tutorial videos under Builders Bootcamp on Empire Builders Pro. This is going to take you 3.5, 4 hours to get through and do the work and have everything ready to go. So number one, it's 2026. It's a new year. So Anthony, if the story that you've been telling in 2025, you may want to update the story that you're telling in 2026. about the vision of where you're going and what you're creating and what that feels like for you to attract people in a different way. So you may want to go do the anatomy of your story and how to create it to get it in current time, right? I'm doing that very same thing for myself right now because, and you'll start to see some of that coming out this week in social media. It's time for me to have a new story. The last 2 years of story, number one, was survive the year that Rick passed and not make any big decisions and still be standing at the end of it. And year number two is like pick up the pieces and get clear and figure out what next while continuing to keep everything going and support things that we were supporting in that way. So now I'm in year three. It's time for a new story, right? And so the story of me launching into 2026 is not going to be the same story as it was the last 2 years. And already the energy is different, and already it's attracting people into conversation with me in a different way. So update your story, number one. And if you need support or help with that or want support or help with that, reach out to me after you have gone through and created your draft. You can email it to me. I'm happy to hop on a call and support you with that. Number two is the power of creating momentum. And number two is really how you create personal momentum for anyone that's joining you right now that wants to grow and build. And if you're not in personal momentum around this, how to get in momentum and how that happens. Number three in that boot camp is what are the conversations to invite people into conversation with you based on your story? This is not a conversation about EXP. This is a conversation about you and what you're building, people by people. Business moves at the speed of trust. How do you get in relationship with people, right? I'm going to have you pause there, Selena. On Friday, I was on the vision call with our founder, Glenn Sanford, Brent Gove, and Spring. And I had two people that I did not know previously on social media that happened to see that call reach out to me on the other side of that call. That on one of them reached out to me on Friday, and we were on the phone by 12:30 Friday afternoon, and again for an hour Friday evening. Somebody that's 27 years and literally in the message said, I was not considering, wouldn't have been open to it or even thinking about EXP, but I heard your story. But I heard your story, right? The second one happened on Saturday. I'm sitting doing my homework assignment because I've hired a coach to coach me this year, and there's a very intensive homework before I go do a 2-day intensive with him this weekend in Idaho. And I see on my phone an invite, somebody that wants to friend request me. Well, the friend request is coming from the name of one of my good friends, but it's her married name. I'm like, is someone hijacking her account? And so I never respond to friend requests as a general purpose because I have a public Facebook account. So I just like everybody can see my stuff anyways. We don't need to be friends. And that's what happens after you have 5,000 people there anyway. But for some reason, I look at this and we start, and so I looked and I'm like, oh, it's not somebody trying to rip off her account. She's got a beautiful family, 4 kids. We started the conversation together. Oh, it turns out she's an independent broker in the state of Georgia, been in the business over 20 years, and has a history in the direct sales industry. With a little company that does not exist in the way that it did now, she had 5,000 distributors, builders with her in the direct sales company before they changed the comp plan at the end of 2024 and all that went away. She's a builder. She knows how to build and have been back and forth in chat and a Zoom call on Sunday, like because I've updated my story and I'm clear on where I'm going and people connect with people and people by people. Like this is not an EXP conversation. I got those conversations because of somebody having an experience of me. The same thing is going to happen for you and how they have an experience of you if you are giving people that experience. So inviting people into conversations, that was a passive attraction because of the people that saw me on that call and reached out to me. But the proactive invitation of you reaching out to people and making those connections is going to come through how skillfully you can utilize your personal story to do that, right? Selena has got a great story. When you think, that the more she goes out and tells her story this year to people that she's connecting with, that she has in the agent community of like, hey, I was thinking of you because we are growing and building and collaborating, right? And one of the things from 2025, and the reason why I'm thinking of you is as a result of that collaboration and things going on for our family, like my dad wouldn't have been able to be in the care facility he would have without what we're building and doing here. And it's kept them in that. And I realized, everybody's got something going on. I don't know what you've got going on or what you may have going on in the future. However, are you open to a conversation about what growing with us could look like, or partnering with us could look like, or working more closely together could look like, right? And so everyone's got that story, right? Then the exposure process on that boot camp is how you get people the information. Don't be the presentation. Worst use of your time, energy, and effort. Use the tools and resources to present. Selena, will you scroll down to 5, 6, and 7, please? Thank you. And then number 5 is how, you know what? I want to see you all on my calendar with great people this year. Like my dream to wake up every day is to have at least 5 third-party validation calls where I'm meeting great people. I'm able to help you with your people. I'm able to paint a larger vision and a larger picture and support you in the people that you want to grow with and that you want to be doing business and life with. Like it's not everyone, right? It's people. It's people. So get them exposed to the community, utilize that process, and there's a great training on how to do that. And then the upgrade process, and here is going to be the responsibility of each of you as a leader of self. The upgrade process is not only going to include conversations, it's going to include belly to belly, face to face. When are we doing those things? And so we're going to talk about specifically the roadmap of doing those things for this year so that you can decide where you're plugging in on that roadmap. The 48-hour strategy call in that Builders Bootcamp is when you have someone that comes over and says, one of the reasons I'm coming is that I want to build. 48 hours before they move their license, there's a very specific strategy for them to implement and execute. Does it work? I'm going to give you an example of Sherry Schaller, who came over to EXP this year, a month before EXPCon, and she utilized this 48-hour strategy. And within a week, she had an agent that was joining her and onboarding with her at EXP, not on her sales team. And both of them were at EXPCon less than a month later in Miami, and they live in California. So if you have someone that's serious about wanting to grow and build and right out of the gate do that, that 48-hour strategy is really important. All right, thank you for the screen share, Selena. I'm gonna have you stop the share, but be ready on the resources tab for the calendar year before we move to the next part. Any questions on the boot camp, the necessity of doing it, redoing it, reviewing it, or clarifications that you may have, because you may have done it before, and just on what might be important for you now at this point? Okay, so that's the what there is to do each day to move the needle forward. And we've got trackers and everything that's available on the website for number of conversations that you're having each day and number of third-party validation calls that you're having each day, and to be able to look at how am I moving the ball forward each day and then moving the needle forward to really treat it like a business. It'll pay you like a business. Same thing as real estate. The same principles apply. Okay, so the fourth piece of this, so we've got the target. We've got the exercises, right, that are going to get your vision clear, which are the money exercise and the exchange of time and energy, as well as creating from a blank sheet. Then we've got the target, which is number 2. And now we've got the infrastructure that we're looking at, right? So Builders Bootcamp to get your foundation in place, and then the retreats to get your foundation in place. The Builders Bootcamp, which is number 4, is what you're doing every day. Now, number 5 is a really important piece because this is going to be a recipe for the upgrade conversation of how you're going to get people over the line. So, and yourself. So I'm going to have you stop share for just a second. Here's what I want to say about events, and we're going to finish this conversation with events, is that based on results, a very small percentage of people, in my experience, understand the importance of events based on the fact that they don't regularly attend them. I'm going to say that again. There's a very small number of people that understand the importance of events based on the fact that the majority of people do not regularly attend them. And if you are committed to building and growing an organization within EXP, one of the principles that you will come to understand is that energy and momentum gets created event to event. If you're not going to the event, it is really hard to get people to go to the event. And that initially you may go to an event by yourself. The idea is you never go alone. In my direct sales career, it was never miss a meeting and never go alone. Like those two things. And if you did that, you'd be in the business and you'd have a growing business. That skill set is transferable in this context. And so there are events that are built on a very specific and intentional cadence. March, we have the Cabo event that Brent hosts. We've got regional rallies that will happen all over the United States in between that. We've got EXPCon, and we've got the 4 retreats that I'm doing each year. Based on what your center target is, align your commitment to participating, attending, and bringing people with you to those events. Because if you say, Casey, well, my target is, I've got nobody in my organization right now, and my target is, that $10,000 a month. And so what did we say, 300 and some odd agents in my organization by the end of the year. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to go to EXPCon and, well, for sure, a regional rally because I've got to do that because I'm going to be an icon agent. I'm going to tell you you're smoking hope dope and you're not going to have an organization of 350 agents at the end of the year. So let's just change your target to something that's actually doable, that's still a stretch, because those two things are not aligned. So it's not just about having a target that is based on what's possible, not versus what's realistic. It's about this is the biggest piece of the equation in the conversation is who is there for you to become to create that. And every time you are at one of those events, you are going to become an upgraded version of yourself because you're going to expand, grow, learn, integrate. And if you're doing that and you have people that are with you at each one of those junctures, yes, you can create from what's possible and go from zero to an organization of 350 agents by the end of the year, if that's really what your intention is. And you've aligned the behaviors of what it takes to make that happen, such that, like, imagine, like, there's if you're coming to let's say you go crazy and you're like, you know what? And I could see Kim doing this, not that Kim's crazy, but I could see her going crazy and be like, I'm going to be at all 4 Casey's retreats this year. And I'm bringing people and I'm bringing repeat people and I'm bringing new people to every single one of them. And of course, I'm going to be in Cabo in March. And of course, I'm going to be at EXPCon. And of course, we're going to hit regional rallies wherever we've got people, because her focus is growing and building. Is she still in sales and production? Yes. Is she still in sales and production? Yes. And see, you already said that to yourself. And she has a mindset of and, which is what it takes to do the sales and production business that's going to keep roofs over your head and grow the kind of organization based on a target that's worthy of you and that's possible. And so this may be, so many people that I talked to, I don't know, like, do I have to go to that one? Or if I'm going to pick between this one and this one, what should I go to? And I just, like, in my mind, I just go, you're going to, like, whatever that target is. Yeah, you could recruit a couple of agents this year with that philosophy. You could, if what you want to do is a couple. But if you've got a target of creating something significant, it is going to call forth something significant from you, because everything requires being willing to pay a price. And I'm not going to say it's a price of something that you lose. I'm going to say it's something that you invest, because where you invest, there's return, right? And so to what extent are you willing to lean in? Okay, let's look at that visually, what that looks like, please, Selena. So if you go to Empire Builders Pro, you will see for the year, we have under the resources tab, if you scroll down the upcoming live training events. So there's the Cabo event for March. Regional rallies, as soon as that link is live, they will be posted there. What's not there is we've got Brent's events, yes, and then the updated 2026 EXPCon in October will be in Salt Lake. So there is your cadence of events. And I think we're also going to put the builders, I think, Selena, we should put
I was just thinking the same thing. Let's just go ahead and add it here. We've
well,
always just done personal invitation, but I like it here.
Yeah, so the reason why we did personal invitation in the past was because it was a maximum of 12 people in my home, and so it was there was a very stringent vetting process for people that were invited to that. And now we realize that there's more people that want to learn and grow together, and we don't want to be limited by the 12 in my home. So the room that I have downstairs, which is a beautiful room and facility we'll come up to my house at some point. But the room that we're using is called Lauren's Lounge, and it can accommodate up to 100 people. We're not going to have 100 people. We're going to keep it a little smaller than that. We'll probably cap it off at a maximum of like 70 at some point, just to make sure we maintain a quality experience for everyone. However, those quarterly events will be listed here as we get the website updated, which will be by the end of this week. So EXPCon will be updated by the end of this week. The four retreats that I'm doing this year will be updated by the end of this week. And then as things come on for the build events and the regional rallies, those will be. So now let's back up a minute and go, okay, so what is there for me to do next? And you can stop the screen share. Thanks. What there for you to do next is like, it's always whatever the next event is. When is the next event? The next event is in 2 weeks here. So what are you going to rearrange to get here, and who are you bringing with you? Like if your target is a serious target, that's what there is to do. That's the question to be asking. And then once you do that, the next question is, okay, well, what's next? Well, we're going to build from that to March, Cabo. So I will tell you what I learned in all of my years of direct sales is when my ticket is purchased and my flights are booked and my accommodations are handled, people saying yes to coming with me changes dramatically versus if I say that I'm going and I haven't handled my registration, my tickets, or my accommodations, or even in part the ticket, right? And so there's a different energy that comes from the certainty and clarity of here's what's happening. I can invite you because, yeah, I'm going, I've got my ticket. And so this is like just to break it down, like really simply, there's the day-to-day stuff that's going to happen in the cadence of the boot camps. And then for you, map out based on your target, what are you willing to do so that you can be a leader that people are going to follow, that you have a cadence and you know exactly where you're going this year, where you're going to be at what times, and you're able to invite people into that conversation with you. So, in summary, in the last 60 seconds that we have, because I'm sure, like many of you, I am booked on the hour. At the top of the hour, is to land the plane. This recording will be on our site. So if you want to go back and look at it on the YouTube channel under the Builders Call are all housed on the YouTube channel. But here's what I would say, just in conclusion, is you're here for a reason. And you're with this group of people for a reason. And maybe you're clear on what that reason is. Maybe you're not. But I would invite you to trust it. And make 2026 a year that when it's December 31st, 2026, you look back and you don't recognize the version of you that's standing on December 31st, 2026, because it is such an up-leveled version from where you're at today. Not that there's anything wrong with where you're at today. You're in the perfect place for you based on results because that's where you are. The exciting thing to think about is what's the version of you that's going to be standing December 31st, and then you can look around at all the things on your sheet of paper that you created from what's possible and what's aligned in your values and your heart and your desire, and celebrate the external results from the internal work that you've been willing to do throughout the course of 2026. And I'm excited as heck to be running alongside each and every one of you. And let's go make this a year. Like this is a breakout year. I can feel it. I've been feeling it for like the last 2 months. Like 2026 is a breakout year. I can feel it. It's going to be a breakout year for so many people. Like go shock yourself in an amazing way this year and have a great story to share. So I love each and every one of you. Looking forward to growing together. Make it a great rest of your day.